273 years
Yes.
to be president, Student Government Association president. Did that say to you a lot about acceptance and being more open and welcoming at Oklahoma State University?
Yes and no.
Okay.
It did. Yes, because it was a group of students who were not necessarily African American. Certainly many of them were, but as many of them were not, who supported me in the effort to become student body president and who supported me during the term that I served. There were students who were not African American who are the reason that the idea was born, and from that they, through their energy and time and effort, reached out and brought in a broader group of students to participate. They also were aware that it was a very new and different thing, were somewhat skeptical of their ability to make that work in the environment that we believed existed at OSU at that time. So when I think back on it, we did do a lot of things to, in some ways, to conceal two things: that I was black and and that I was female. And I think if you go back and look at, though the university was not doing a project like this at the time, but if you look at the student newspaper, you probably won't see any pictures of me. You will see pictures of a St. Bernard that wore a shirt that said Latimer McCurdy for a change. You will possibly see articles where my name is printed as LaRon Latimer as opposed to Patrice Latimer, because it was believed that that would conceal the fact that I was female. So there was a lot that went into doing what people thought was necessary to get me elected, because what was important was an opportunity to do things differently. And if you think back on that time, I don't want to trivialize our current political race, nor do I want to trivialize the experience at OSU. But if you look back at that, we were in somewhat of a similar time. As I just said, our slogan was Latimer McCurdy for a change, and it's kind of interesting that we are looking at that now. At that time, we were in the Vietnam War, and students were being drafted to serve in that war. And there were organizations that were a part of the Student Association whose mission was to help students to avoid the draft. So, we were looking at some very similar kinds of things, and we were also looking at a population that may be embracing for the first time an African American as its leader. And that, I think, was a very significant time in all of our lives. I believe that it was, though, no matter what we did or thought we had to do, because we'll never know whether that was really necessary. It might be that I could have been on the front page of the student newspaper every other day and talked about our ideas and our platform and would have still been elected, or I might not have. We'll never know. But what we do know is that having run a successful campaign and having served in the office, that we were able to, after the fact, make some progress in terms of getting students to be more interactive with each other. And I think that's what's important. And I think those beginnings, maybe in some sense it was a beginning of in the broader society, people starting to create different kinds of relationships and different ways of relating than had been exercised and acceptable before.